New tonight, the Atlanta Police Department released some surveillance video tied to a recent homicide to help catch a killer. Check this out here, folks. Police want you to identify this person walking up the stairs, approaching the stairs, seen walking up to an apartment building wearing a number 2 Atlanta Falcons jersey. Police believe this person may have information into a deadly shooting of Rasheeda Williams, better known as Koko the doll. Now, her body was found Wednesday night right off of Martin Luther King Jr. Drive, and that's where we find 11 Alive's Cody Alcorn tonight. So, Cody, you spoke to a friend of Williams, and what are they hearing about her homicide?
So it's their understanding that Williams met somebody at a nearby mall at some point, got into a vehicle with this person, and then was shot. Her body dropped off here, where there's now a makeshift memorial outside the Holmes Plaza Center.
What do you get when you see a trans woman in public and feel the need to announce it? What exactly does pointing and whispering, "That's a man," accomplish? For one, it won't stop anyone from being who they are. For two, all you're doing is revealing your own fears and prejudices. This isn't just a theoretical question. It's one that Rasheeda Williams, known to many as Koko Doll, posed on social media just weeks before her life was tragically cut short at age 35. Picture Atlanta, Georgia, a city of contrasts. The state's crown jewel and one of America's top 5 LGBTQ+ cities, home to the Southeast's biggest pride parade. A place where dreams are born and sometimes die in the same breath. It's here where our story begins and sadly ends, at a strip mall on Martin Luther King Jr. Drive in Southwest Atlanta, where Rasheeda Williams was found with a gunshot wound that would steal her voice forever. But before we get to that night in April 2023, we need to understand who Rasheeda was, because she was so much more than just another statistic. Just months before her death, she stood triumphant at the Sundance Film Festival, her face lighting up the screen in Kokomo City, a groundbreaking documentary that would win 2 prestigious awards. Standing there in Park City, Utah, far from her roots in Atlanta's Southside College Park, Rasheeda did something remarkable. She dared to dream out loud. "We can do anything," she declared, her voice full of hope and determination. "We can be whatever we want to be." Those weren't just words for Rasheeda. They were a promise she was determined to keep. A promise that would echo through the halls of Sundance and into the hearts of countless others who saw themselves in her story. This was a woman who refused to be defined by society's narrow expectations. By day, she was crafting her music career, releasing singles like Trick in 2020 and Bulletproof in 2022. That last title hitting differently now, doesn't it? Her music was even set to feature on the hit Showtime series, The Chi. But it was her role in Kokomo City that would truly cement her legacy. Think about this. In a world where trans stories are often told through the lens of tragedy, Rasheeda and director D. Smith dared to show something different. They showed joy. They showed humanity. They showed 4 Black trans women living their lives unapologetically, facing their challenges head-on while never losing their spark, their humor, and their dignity. When Kokomo City premiered at Sundance, something magical happened. The film didn't just win awards, it won hearts. The Hollywood Reporter praised Rasheeda and her co-stars for offering the most authentic versions of themselves. In a media landscape often dominated by stereotypes and sensationalism, here was something real, something raw, something revolutionary. After the premiere, Rasheeda took to Instagram with words that would prove heartbreakingly prophetic. "I will be the reason more opportunities and doors are opening for transgender girls." She added, "What you've done here for me is going to save a lot of lives." She was right about that, just not in the way she imagined. Because while Rasheeda's physical presence would be stolen from us far too soon, her impact, her message, and her truth would live on, challenging us all to examine our prejudices, our fears, and most importantly, our humanity. The question she posed about pointing out trans women in public wasn't just rhetorical, it was a challenge to all of us. A challenge to examine why we feel the need for other people who are different from us. A challenge to recognize the deadly consequences of treating human beings as something less than human. A challenge that, tragically, would be answered in the most devastating way possible on a warm April night in Atlanta. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. To truly understand the weight of what was lost that night, we need to understand who Rasheeda Williams really was. Not just as Koko, not just as a documentary star, but as a human being who dared to dream of a better world. A world where being different wasn't a death sentence. A world she wouldn't live to see, but one she helped bring a little closer to reality. You're watching True Crime Stories 24/7. Thanks for joining. Please do well to subscribe and like this video to support us. Before anyone knew her as Koko, before the lights of Sundance and the acclaim of Kokomo City, Rasheeda Williams was just a girl from College Park on Atlanta's South Side. In a city known for birthing dreams, hers were as big as they come. But unlike many who chase fame for fame's sake, Rasheeda's ambitions were rooted in something deeper, a burning desire to take care of her family and create a path for others like her. Those who knew her speak of a presence that couldn't be ignored. When Rasheeda entered a room, she brought with her what friends described as a beautiful, bright smile, the kind that made embracing her inevitable. She wasn't just living her life, she was blazing a trail, showing what was possible when you refuse to let society's expectations define your limits. But let's be real for a moment. This wasn't some fairy tale where everything came easy. Atlanta might be known as a Black Mecca and an LGBTQ+ haven, but the intersection of being Black and trans came with its own unique set of challenges. Rasheeda faced these challenges head-on, turning her experiences into art, into music, into something that could speak to others who saw themselves in her story. Her journey as an artist began to take shape in 2020 with the release of her first single, Trick. By 2022, she followed it up with Bulletproof, a title that now carries an almost unbearable weight of irony. But it was more than just music for Rasheeda. It was about proving something, proving that trans women could be artists, stars, or whatever they set their minds to. And then came Kokomo City. When director Dee Smith set out to make this documentary, she had a vision to show Black trans women as they really were, not as statistics, not as victims, but as fully realized human beings with dreams, fears, jokes, and stories to tell. In Rasheeda, she found someone who embodied everything the film was trying to say. The documentary didn't shy away from hard truths. It tackled the complex relationship between the Black community and trans women, the realities of survival, and the dreams that kept them going. But what made it revolutionary wasn't just its honesty, it was its joy. Through Rasheeda's infectious personality and unfiltered realness, audiences saw something they rarely got to see: a Black trans woman simply living, laughing, and dreaming. In one particularly powerful moment from the film, Rasheeda opens up about her motivations for sex work, not to sensationalize it, but to humanize it. She talks about doing whatever it took to keep her mother and sister from homelessness. This wasn't just her story. It was a story about family, about survival, about love in its most practical and profound forms. When Kokomo City premiered at Sundance in January 2023, something extraordinary happened. The film won not one but 2 awards, the Next Audience Award and the Next Innovator Award. But for Rasheeda, the real victory wasn't in the accolades. It was in the doors she knew this would open for others. "I'm going to be the reason more opportunities and doors are opening for transgender girls," she wrote on Instagram after the premiere. She wasn't just celebrating her own success, she was already thinking about how to use it to lift others. This was Rasheeda Williams, always thinking bigger than herself, always looking to the next horizon, always dreaming of a better tomorrow. Little did anyone know that just 3 months after her triumphant moment at Sundance, after her music was set to feature on The Chai, after all her dreams seemed finally within reach, Rasheeda's story would come to a violent end. But we're not there yet. To understand the true tragedy of what was lost that April night, you need to understand the magnitude of what Rasheeda Williams was building, the lives she was touching, and the future she was fighting for. Even as her star was rising, Rasheeda never lost touch with what mattered most. Her social media wasn't filled with manufactured glamour. It was real, authentic glimpses into her life. She'd post about her favorite sushi spot in Atlanta, gushing about the yellowtail at a place called telling her followers they need to check it out ASAP. She shared her morning Starbucks runs, her excitement about red carpet events, and her tips for maintaining curly wigs. These weren't carefully curated posts. They were windows into the life of someone who was unapologetically herself. But beneath the everyday joy and the rising success, Rashida was acutely aware of the dangers that Black trans women face. She used her platform not just to showcase her achievements, but to speak truth to power. In one of her last social media posts, she addressed the people who felt the need to call out trans women in public. "What do you get out of doing that?" she asked, her words carrying both frustration and genuine curiosity. For one, it's not going to stop anything. For two, all you're doing is making him curious. It was this blend of strength and vulnerability, of joy and serious purpose, that made Rashida such a compelling presence in Kokomo City. The documentary, shot in striking black and white, wasn't just another film about trauma. It was a celebration of life, of resilience, of Black trans women's humanity in all its complexity. "My biggest objective," Rashida said in the film, "is to make sure that other girls don't have to go through what we went through." She was passionate about showing young trans women that they had options and that sex work wasn't their only path. "We can do anything," she insisted. "We can be music artists. We can be actors. We can be whatever we want to be." The film's success at Sundance was unprecedented. When reviewing it, Theo Bugby of the New York Times wrote that Koko brims with vitality, ambition, and insight. The reviewer noted that this wasn't a maudlin film about victimhood. It was a movie with heroines who fight tooth and nail for their lives and their self-worth. As winter turned to spring in 2023, Rashida was riding high. Her music was about to reach a whole new audience through The Chai. The documentary was headed for wider release, and she was using her platform to advocate for her community. She was living proof of everything she preached, that trans women could dream big, achieve bigger, and lift others along the way. April in Atlanta is usually a time of renewal when the city shakes off winter's chill and dogwoods paint the streets white with their blooms. For Rashida, it should have been a time of triumph, of watching her seeds of success blossom into something beautiful. Instead, it would become the setting for a tragedy that would send shockwaves through Atlanta's LGBTQ+ community and beyond. The city that had nurtured her dreams would become the place where they were violently cut short. But even in death, Rashida Williams would continue to make an impact, though not in the way she had hoped. Her story would become both a testament to what was possible and a stark reminder of how far we still have to go. The night of April 18, 2023, started like any other in Southwest Atlanta. The Holmes Shopping Plaza, near the Hamilton E. Holmes MARTA station on Martin Luther King Jr. Drive, was winding down for the evening. It was the kind of ordinary night that no one expects to remember, until it becomes impossible to forget. Around 9:50 p.m., security cameras at the Peaks at ML apartment complex captured Rashida near the pool area. What happened next would be pieced together through surveillance footage, witness statements, and police investigations. A witness, sitting at a nearby bus stop, would later provide crucial details about Rashida's final moments that would haunt Atlanta's LGBTQ+ community for months to come. According to police reports and the witness statement, Rashida was seen having an interaction with someone at the entrance of the complex. The conversation appeared to be about something as mundane as charging a phone. But what began as a seemingly ordinary encounter would spiral into something far more sinister. The security footage from the Wendy's next door would capture what happened next. Rashida was seen leaving the complex alone. Then, the night air was shattered by the sound of gunshots. The witness at the bus stop would later report hearing 4 distinct shots. 4 moments that would end a life filled with so much promise, so much potential, and so much left to give. When police responded to 2457 Martin Luther King Jr. Drive Southwest, they found Rashida with a gunshot wound. She wasn't alert, conscious, or breathing. The Atlanta Fire Rescue pronounced her dead at the scene. The vibrant spirit that had lit up Sundance just months before, the voice that had promised to open doors for others, was gone. The news of Rashida's death sent shockwaves through Atlanta and beyond. Dee Smith, the director who had helped bring Rashida's story to the world through Kokomo City, took to Instagram with heartbreaking words, "Rashida, aka Koko, was the latest victim of violence against Black transgender women. I created Kokomo City because I wanted to show the fun, humanized, natural side of Black trans women. I wanted to create images that didn't show the trauma or the statistics of the murder of transgender lives. I wanted to create something fresh and inspiring. I did that. We did that. But here we are again. The timing was particularly cruel. Rasheeda's death came at a moment when Atlanta police were already investigating 2 other violent crimes against transgender women. Just a week earlier, on April 11th, 37-year-old Ashley Burton, a hairstylist, and another Black trans woman, had been killed at the City Park Apartments. In January, another trans woman had been critically shot on Highland Avenue. While police stressed these incidents weren't connected, they painted a devastating picture of the dangers Black trans women face, even in a city known for its LGBTQ+ acceptance. As the community reeled from this latest loss, police worked to piece together what happened that night. They released surveillance images of a person of interest, a young man wearing a white hoodie with an emblem on the front and slides. These images, captured at a nearby Chevron gas station, would prove crucial in cracking the case. But for those who knew and loved Rashida, for those who had been inspired by her story, for those who saw in her a beacon of hope for their own dreams, the focus wasn't on finding her killer. It was on processing the devastating reality that another bright light had been extinguished far too soon. On April 26th, just 8 days after Rasheeda's death, an unexpected development broke in the case. A 17-year-old named Jamarcus Jernigan walked into Atlanta's Zone 1 precinct. His mother would later explain that they had woken up that morning to see his picture plastered on the newscast and social media.
Only on 11 Alive, a mother is now defending her teenage son tonight. The son is accused of gunning down a woman 2 weeks ago tonight. The mom is claiming her son did not pull the trigger. Koko, the doll, was found shot along Martin Luther King Jr. Drive. This was right near the Hamilton E. Mill MARTA station. 17-year-old Jamarcus Jernigan is charged with murder in her death. 11 Live's Cody Alcorn is live there where Atlanta police say this deadly shooting actually took place. So, Cody, you have brand new information that the suspect's mom is refuting this investigation, right?
That's right, Ron. We now know tonight, according to a warrant, that Koko the doll was shot in the face. Now, Jernigan's mom says they have never heard of Koko until her son was accused of killing her. Now, what we can tell you is detectives say their break in this case came when they tracked down surveillance video that captured this deadly shooting.
According to her, his response was simple: "I'm going to go down there and clear my name." The surveillance images that had been circulating showed someone in a distinctive white hoodie with an emblem and slides, captured at the Chevron on Martin Luther King Jr. There was no question it was Jernigan, but what happened next would become a matter of intense debate. According to the arrest warrant, the pieces started coming together like a grim puzzle. The security footage from outside the Wendy's had captured the shooting itself. The clothing worn by the shooter matched what Jernigan was wearing in the Chevron footage, but his mother adamantly defended her son. "My son has a gun at all. Stop saying he turned himself in because he murdered somebody. No, he did not murder anybody. My son went down there to clear his name." But the evidence told a different story. The witness at the bus stop had seen an argument spill into the roadway. She couldn't make out the person arguing with Rashida, but she heard 4 shots break the night air. When she looked up, Rashida was lying on the road. Homicide detectives felt they had enough to establish probable cause. They charged Jernigan with murder, aggravated assault, and possession of a firearm during the commission of a felony. At just 17, he would be charged as an adult under Georgia law. The arrest brought a mix of relief and renewed pain to Atlanta's LGBTQ+ community. Tracy McDaniel, founder of Jude Post Center for Transformation, a human and civil rights advocacy group for trans people, spoke about the broader implications. There are people who are afraid to be who they are. There are people who are afraid to walk out of their doors. The investigation continued as a potential hate crime, even after the arrest. Atlanta Police Department made a powerful statement. While these individual incidents are unrelated, we are very aware of the epidemic-level violence Black and brown transgender women face in America. What makes this case particularly haunting is the contrast between Rasheeda's final months and her tragic end. Just weeks before her death, she had been celebrating her music being featured on The Chai. She was riding the wave of Kokomo City's success, with Magnolia Pictures planning a wider release. She was using her platform to advocate for others, to show what was possible. On April 22nd, 4 days after her death and 4 days before Jernigan would turn himself in, a candlelight vigil was held where Rashida was found. The community gathered to remember not just how she died, but how she lived, her dreams, her impact, her unwavering belief that things could be better. The film that helped bring her story to the world, Kokomo City, was officially dedicated to her memory. At the 2023 BET Awards, she was honored during the In Memoriam segment, a recognition of her impact on both art and activism. Her story became part of a larger conversation about violence against trans women, about dreams deferred, about lives cut short. But perhaps the most powerful testament to Rasheeda's legacy wasn't in the awards or the dedications. It was in the words she left behind. "What you've done here for me is going to save a lot of lives." Though she couldn't have known it at the time, these words would take on a profound new meaning after her death, as her story continued to open eyes, change hearts, and challenge society to do better. In the months following Rasheeda's death, Kokomo City was released to wider audiences, now carrying an even heavier weight. Every frame featuring her vibrant smile, every moment of her unfiltered truth-telling became both a celebration of her life and a painful reminder of what was lost. Her story became more than just another tragic headline. It became a catalyst for conversations about the violence that Black trans women face, even in cities considered progressive havens. The film she was so proud of, that she believed would open doors for others, did exactly that, though not in the way she had dreamed. Her death became a stark reminder of why representation matters, why stories need to be told, and why voices like hers need to be heard before they're silenced. Filmmaker magazine captured this bitter irony perfectly when they called her death a dismal reminder of the constant threat of violence that Black trans women disproportionately face. The same authenticity and visibility that Rasheeda championed throughout her life ultimately highlighted the dangers that come with simply existing as a Black trans woman in America. Let us bow our heads for a moment and remember Rasheeda Williams, not just as Koko the doll, not just as a victim, but as a dreamer who dared to imagine a better world, a daughter who worked tirelessly to support her family, an artist who used her voice to lift others, a woman who refused to dim her light even in the darkest of times. May her soul find the peace that was too often denied to her in life. May her dreams of opening doors for others continue to manifest. May her story serve as both a warning and an inspiration, a reminder that we must do better, be better, and create a world where being yourself isn't a death sentence. Before you close this video, I want you to think about something. Right now, somewhere in America, another Black trans woman is dreaming big dreams, just like Rasheeda did. She's hoping for a tomorrow where she can walk down the street without fear, where she can chase her ambitions without looking over her shoulder. Your subscription to True Crime Stories 24/7 isn't just about getting updates on the latest cases. It's about keeping these stories alive, ensuring these voices aren't forgotten, and making sure these lives matter. If Rasheeda's story moved you, if it made you think, if it made you want to see change, hit that subscribe button. Do it for Rasheeda. Do it for every dream that was cut short too soon. Do it because these stories need to be told, and someone needs to be here to tell them. Join our community at True Crime Stories 24/7, where we don't just tell stories, we make sure they're never forgotten. Remember, as Rasheeda once said, we can do anything, we can be whatever we want to be. The tragedy is that she didn't live to fulfill all her dreams. The question is, what will we do to make sure her death wasn't in vain? This has been the story of Rasheeda Williams. May she rest in power.